listening to A Balanced Juggle, helping women find balance in managing it all while achieving their own personal goals. Hello and welcome to another episode of, that's right, A Balanced Juggle. My name is Lena, and I am just super freaking excited about today's episode. You know, here at A Balanced Juggle, we've talked extensively about the importance of making realistic, smart goals. And I totally fudged because one of my realistic, smart goals should have been closing my office door, but I didn't, and now you hear my little baby Maltese yapping in the background. Okay, we're back from that disruption. I'll post a picture of Rosie on our blog. She's so freaking adorable. There's no way in the world one could ever be angry with her. Anyhow, so getting back to the point of this whole podcast, today's episode at least, we've talked extensively about making smart goals and making realistic smart goals, those goals we could implement while fetching and executing our daily obligations. And it's friggin' hard. Hello? It's hard because our everyday expectations are ever changing, and to carry through on goals and achieve something for ourselves becomes harder as those obligations change. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to bring on a special guest. And today we're going to have the pleasure of talking with a very dear friend of mine who was able to develop those realistic, smart goals, which in turn resulted in her accomplishing something extraordinary. So get ready for a great conversation with my extraordinary friend, Dawn, who is also coincidentally our very first guest on our podcast. Here's that interview coming up next. Welcome to the show, my buddy, my butt-kicking buddy, Dawn. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
No problem at all.
A little bit of a backstory. Dawn and I worked together when I lived down in Florida, and then I moved far away, but we kept in touch. And I pretty much stalked Dawn on Facebook because she started this incredible journey and really and truly accomplished something rather remarkable. And the end result was a complete transformation, not only a short-term one, but a long-term one. So, Dawn, I wanted you to come on the show and, you know, talk about making that decision, the changes you made, and what strategies you used during that journey to really carry you through. Because, I mean, listen, I'm sort of kind of on this journey, and some days I wake up and I'm just like, I just rather just stay in the bed. What did you do to get you out the bed and get your sneakers on and get going? And first tell us what you accomplished and how you started.
Sure. Well, I guess just to start, what you just said about some days you just don't want to get out of bed. There are days when I don't want to get out of bed either. It's a daily, day-to-day struggle, keeping yourself going, keeping that frame of mind, that, you know, healthy way of life going. And, you know, not every day you're going to practice that. I'm an 80-20 person. 80% healthy living, 20% you have to give yourself to make yourself happy. My journey started when I became angry and I finally got sick of not being my best healthy self. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't look good. I wasn't unhealthy physically. I did not have any health problems. I just wasn't my best me. And it finally just got to the point to where it made me angry and I got sick of it. And I decided finally to do something about it. And I did.
Awesome.
Sometimes anger is what need to make that happen.
Well, you know, you could either take down the walls or decide to put that energy into yourself. And I'm glad that you identified that.
And down those walls.
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you this. So you definitely, I remember when we worked together, one of the things we talked about was, I mean, we were both in the same boat, always talking about, we've got to get healthy. We've got to make better decisions as these medical reps are bringing us friggin' frappuccinos and all that jazz, right?
Yes.
And you would always say you wanted to run. Yes. You wanted to run. And today you're quite the accomplished runner. But before we get to that, I wanted to know, like, really, like, okay, so you got up one day, you're like, screw this shit. I'm getting my sneakers on and I'm going for it. Right. So how did that start? Like, what did you do?
I started very slowly and very gradually, and I walked 3 miles, and it took me 1 hour. And I started doing that 4 or 5 days a week. And I got to the point, this was in 2010, and I realized that I enjoyed the walk.
Right.
So I did that from June until basically the time changed when, it was dark getting off of work. So I didn't do it anymore because I just didn't feel safe going out. In that time frame between June and maybe like November, somewhere in there of 2010, I don't know, that was seems like forever ago. And
right.
I'll try and remember, date. I'd probably shed 28 pounds just doing the walking religiously and making tweaks in my diet.
During that time when you started, this was just on you. You didn't get any medical advice, go to a PT, join any fad diets?
I did not.
This
it was all on my own. It was all
phenomenal.
Me. Yep.
And those small changes, added up to those big results. I mean, 28 pounds, that's a lot. That's a lot.
That is a lot, considering I was only walking.
Wow.
Slowly.
Okay, so after that 28 pounds, obviously you were encouraged to take the next step, I would assume?
Correct. Yes.
And what was that?
So the next step in 2011, when I started getting more, I did go to the gym. I didn't become completely inactive, but those 6 months of the year where I wasn't doing that walking regime, I maintained that weight loss. I didn't lose any further, but I maintained what I had lost.
Okay.
So that in and of itself was a win.
Right, absolutely.
So in 2011, once the time changed back and I had more daylight hours, I continued to walk. So I had a friend who coincidentally was a drug rep that came to the office who was a runner, and she was like, hey, why don't you do this? She said, I want you to walk for 5 minutes and run for 1 minute, and I want you to do that until you're comfortable with that, and then you feel like you want to make another change. And then I want you to walk for 4 minutes and run for 1 minute, and then 3, and then 1, and then 2, and then 1. So I gradually got myself, over the course of 2011, down to where I was walking for 2 minutes and I was running for 1 minute. And I did that through till New Year of 2012, in which I had lost probably 40 more pounds.
Oh, wow. So you're total 60 plus pounds at this point.
Yes. But
wow.
My diet was my diet was slightly more restrictive at that time in 2011 because I was a little more serious with the getting the walking down and trying to walk less and run more. So over the course of 2011, I was probably down to 1 in the 150s probably.
Wow, that's amazing.
150s, 160s, which was actually my goal at the time.
So two questions on that. One, you say restricted diet. How did you formulate, what to eat? How did you fit in all of this in addition to working full time? And then you don't necessarily work across the street from home. You have an expensive commute.
I was driving probably, at that time, I was probably driving 26, 27 miles one way.
Yeah, how the hell do you fit in all of this and accomplish what you did? Yeah.
Well, the number one thing was the desire to be healthy. And I figured I made it happen. I would come home from work and I would go for my walk.
I love that.
Run.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually looked forward to it because every time I did it, I knew I was one step closer to being where I wanted to be.
Wow.
The big thing is reading labels on food or buying food where you don't have to read a label, which is pretty much where I'm at now. Now, where I'm at today, as far as food goes, is not where I was then. That was a learning process. And again, this is something that I taught myself. I did not read books on nutrition. I did not seek a nutritionist. Everything I know about nutrition and not exercise, just the nutrition, again, I taught myself. I learned calorie counting, which really I don't do now. It's not really about counting calories. It's kind of more about what you're taking in. Not eating foods where you have to read a label, but if you do read the label, a serving size, that's a serving size. It's not complicated. It just takes a little bit of adjusting to get used to it.
Did you track? Like, did you use like a tracker?
I did. I used the tracker. Okay. That more started in 2012. I cannot tell you which tracker I used. If I couldn't I got to the point to where if I couldn't find the food in my tracker, I didn't eat it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I did not eat fast food. I did eat carbs. I only would eat wheat or like whole grain, nothing white, fruits, vegetables. I don't believe in those diets where they tell you don't eat fruit. That's bullshit. You eat fruit.
Right.
Now there are fruits that you can eat that have, fewer sugars in them, and breads that are lower glycemic. I do try and stay as low glycemic as I can. Mm-hmm. I don't eat a lot of bread per se. Now I eat the hell out of tacos.
Right. Oh my gosh, that was our thing. Hello, that was our thing. You, me, and the other Don. Exactly, that hasn't changed. Yeah. So you definitely made a commitment, and you were successful in it. During your day, you've got to commute to work, and then obviously it involves some level of pre-planning. Yeah. It involved you having to make some type of decision-making to be proactive in order to meet those goals as the days go on, especially during the week, because a 26-mile commute, that's like, what, 45-minute drive in Florida traffic?
Yes, in traffic, yeah.
So what did you do to make sure, what did Dawn do at the beginning of the week or at the beginning of the day to make sure once she gets home from work, one, she has nothing in the way to go work out, and then two, how did you control your diet at work? Because if I remember correctly, working at the office, a lot of it was sit-down time. I don't know if that changed, but
it's still sit-down time.
We get up to some extent, but it's a lot of sit-down. How did you manage that? What strategies did you put in place?
Honestly, I did not have a strategy. The only thing that I did is I forced it and I made it become my routine. It was my routine. There was no question. When I got home from work, I changed my clothes and I went out and I did my walk run.
Like you said, you made it happen.
I made it happen. As far as food goes, it just became about self-control. Just saying no. Just because it's there and just because it's free doesn't mean you need to eat it.
Wow.
When you're full, you stop. If that donut's sitting there, great. There's a donut there. Do I need to eat it? Absolutely not. You have to kind of pick and choose. What is worth the sugar? What is worth the calories? Now, I am a firm believer that sugar is the devil. I do. I believe that sugar is the devil. I consume very little sugar.
Right.
I don't use sweeteners. I don't use artificial sweeteners. I don't use sugar. If I need to use something, I use honey.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's something I'm struggling with right now. So in my daily routine, I'll get up in the morning and I've become dependent on walking outside only for the fact of, yes, it's a workout, but more so than that, it like sets me up for the day. It's almost like meditation. Yeah. I'm in a better mood. It's like the fresh air. When I get to work and I've got like 20 different things slapping me in the face simultaneously, I don't want to put like my fist through the wall. It's extremely stressful. And I've become dependent on that time. But where I slack off is if there's something in front of my face, I don't have that sense of awareness yet and strength. And I think it's a skill that we eventually have to practice to become a behavior where you're obviously at. Where, like the other day, we did a YouTube video for our channel. It was a National Donut Day. Mm-hmm. So I went and bought a shit ton of donuts because that was the smart thing to do, right? I went and bought like 16 friggin' donuts. And I had the kids taste each one. Well, of course, they packed my most favorite one, which is like the cruller. I don't even know if that's pronouncing it correctly. And at the beginning of this thing, Dawn, I wasn't going to have it. I told myself, I signed a mental contract. I was not going to friggin' have it. They come to that part of the donut, they taste test it while friggin' filming. I started to eat the donut. I didn't even realize it until in editing. Or I'm like, holy shit, I ate the friggin' donut. So I agree with you that it's a constant mindset you've got to keep yourself at. Where is it worth it? Is it worth the sugar? Is it worth having that second helping of mashed potatoes and gravy?
You want to know a little secret? I ate a donut last week. It's okay.
I probably
eat a donut. Yeah, eat a donut every day. Don't eat a donut every week. There you go. Because that's good enough for me.
Right. Well,
you can eat a donut. I spent a lot of 2012